sit there and listen. Use your ears for change. But you decide down where that you're gonna go. But I'd like you for a minute more. We should just get with it now. You know you rule your own life. From my words I'm mere suggestions, so you can bottle up your pain. But don't be afraid. Perfect tunnel vision. It's more out there to see. But you're just there on the moon, not a way to just live in a day. Hey, got one track mind, can only do one thing at a time. We need to work together to display that it's not too late to refrain. Tip off your attention to your position, shape your restless skin. Save this moment for recollection, make haste jump right in. Cry to make yourself feel something, but it's no help at all. You're motionless and looking up, but you're much too bottom well.
Hi, and welcome to And If Love Remains. I'm your host, Mike Levitt, and I have in studio today some very special guests. We have Ultraviolet Communication. We have Matt, Lee, and Josiah in the power trio from Phoenix. Very excited to have them in and talk about their new upcoming music that's coming out. And I don't know if a lot of my audience are familiar with you guys, so let's just kind of go around and introduce you guys and let's talk about the band a little bit. Lee, you're in the throne, so why don't we start with you?
All right.
Tell me who is Lee and where you from, and tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm Lee. I'm the drummer, and I'm in the throne right now. And I play drums and percussion in the group, and in the rhythm section with Matt Morgan.
We're holding it down.
I hope everyone's picturing him in an actual like king's throne,
Right.
and like not a
The
drum
throne.
throne,
Not
like,
a
like,
drum
a
throne.
king's
The
throne.
The full idea, yeah. I guess
My,
get a
au-
crit-
my
full
audience
idea.
knows what we mean by
Yeah.
throne.
Yeah.
It's either a toilet or a drum throne.
What Pickett's actually on the toilet right
Take
now?
your pick.
That's
He's got the fanciest shag seating on the.
Take your
It's
pick.
kind of true. Where are you from, Lee?
Well, currently I'm from Phoenix, but I'm originally from Ohio.
All right. And when did you start picking up the drums and you know, tell me a little about your origin story.
Oh, the origins, we're going way back.
Yeah.
The deep cuts.
That's right.
Just got a deep cut here.
Well, all right. Gracious goodness alive. I've been playing drums for probably about 11 years now.
Okay. Cool. Cool.
Fourth grade, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And, started playing in bands when I was around 16,
Right on.
somewhere in there. Moved out here and played in one or two bands before getting with these guys. And That's about it, man.
That's cool, man. That's cool. And Josiah, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I am from San Dimas, California. I moved to Yuma, Arizona when I was about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And I lived there for a good portion of my life. When I was 9, I took piano lessons, kind of got into that. And then I became a teenager and got really into punk rock. So I wanted to learn the guitar. So I learned the guitar and drums and the bass and a bunch of stuff just because I wanted to be in a band. So I just surrounded myself with musicians and tried to join as many bands. And then I moved out here to actually study music production, and I met Lee.
Okay.
So that's,
Right on.
that's my story.
That's cool. And what do you do in the band?
I play guitar.
You play guitar.
Yeah, just
Okay.
guitar.
Yeah. The guitar, do
Yeah,
a little
the-
picking.
Yeah,
Right?
the flat top.
On the flat top,
good old
yeah,
flat
yeah, of
top,
course,
yeah. Little chicken picking.
Matt, tell me about yourself, man.
I was born in Texas and spent like the first 10 or so years of my life there, and then moved to Colorado, lived there for 7 years, finished high school there. Then I moved out here for college, then moved back to Colorado, went to college again, then moved here again. And when I was living here, I saw the Craigslist ad and I answered it and started jamming with Lee. And at that point, I'd only been I played guitar, started like at 15 or so. And then, yeah, I was about like 21 or so when I picked up bass and started playing with a band. And I've just been playing bass since then.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
That's cool. And you sing.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
the
the singer
singer
as
as
well.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
I always forget that part.
Yeah. Well,
That
like that part's important.
Yeah, the vocals, forget about
Who needs
it.
lyrics?
comes secondary.
Right. Well, I've been listening to your guys' stuff. It's really cool. I mean, it reminds me,
Thank you.
a bit of, yeah, it's cool. It's like old psychedelic Cream, Iron Butterfly.
I
Some
like
really, I
that.
mean, it's really cool. And it's like, neo psychedelic. I mean, that's how I would describe it. I'm
Why,
curious.
thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's dope. And I think, and we'll have links in the description for people to check it out. Cause I really think, in fact, we'll probably put a little bit of it here in the podcast so people can get a feel for your guys' sound.
Great.
How did you guys you guys answered Craigslist, you were buddies. Like, how did you kind of find the sound that you have today? How did that happen as a relatively new band? You guys have been playing for, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
How did that kind of work itself out?
Well, it kind of started when Lee and I started jamming. So I had a Craigslist ad up first. It was up for a long time when I moved out here. And then it was like, I moved out here in January of 2017, put the ad up, kept renewing it.
Right.
And then December of 2017 was when I got a message from Lee. And he asked me, first question, not a hello or anything. It was just like, hey, do you like psychedelic music? And I was like, okay, this is an interesting.
I'm so
reach
glad I
out.
got that right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, dude. So we started talking about music, and then we met at a coffee shop and talked about more music, and then just started jamming. And like, yeah, it was like, we never went into it like with a preconceived notion of like what it was going to sound like. We just knew like, this is something we have in common. We can talk about this. We can jam stuff. We can listen to records and just kind of like feel it out from there. And
Yeah.
then we knew after a couple ideas, I'd bring a song, or he brought a song, and we'd kind of just play it and be like, okay, cool, this kind of got a sound. And then we were like, well, we don't really know what it's going to sound like until we have a bass player and a singer. So then with the addition of Matt, it was like, okay, now we kind of have an idea of like where we all fit in as far as like a sound. And,
Right.
like just for me, it kind of came with just playing together, because we didn't really, we were all strangers really. So we just got to know each other by playing together and talking music and listening to records. And then it kind of just became out naturally from there, I think.
That's cool. And Matt, how did you feel like fitting into something like that? I'm not sure what the Craigslist ad said, but was that something you were looking for? I mean, I assume you guys are here, so.
Well,
yeah.
I never saw his Craigslist ad. I never had to answer his. I answered another guy's.
Yes.
And we were playing like 70s hard rock sort of stuff, like
Okay.
Zeppelin sort of, like very, really Zeppelin-y stuff.
Yeah.
And Pickett was like, yeah, I got jamming with some other guy. You want to go check it out? I'm like, yeah, let's see what's going on. I think it's more our speed. Try it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I left out the portion of the story where some guy hit me up because he wanted to do studio work for a project he wanted to start. So he needed some session musicians, as he said. And And he was like, "Do you know any good drummers?" And I had just met Lee a couple months before, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's great. He'll work out great." So I sent his info to this other guy,
Yeah.
and that's how this guy put up an ad, and that's the one he responded to. Matt responded to.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
they met that way. So that's the missing link there. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was a guitar player at that time, and I was just like, they needed a fuzz out bass player. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll play guitar bass. You know, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Where now? Tell me a little about your influences. Like, who were you listening to? Who are the guys that you kind of model yourself after, if anybody? I mean, what do you? Yeah, who are your influences?
I think with all of us, that just kind of, we had something to start with, and then it kind of grew as, we've been a band for so long, and our tastes change, as we've been playing together. When I first joined the band, I was really into Led Zeppelin and all that, old 70s stuff. And then started getting to, some more newer psychedelic acts like, Tame Impala and like King Gizzard and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Lee, what about you? Who were some of your influences and how did you, because it sounds like you were kind of driving the psychedelic move at the beginning, at least.
Oh yeah.
Like, so tell me about that.
Yeah, I was ferocious in that.
You knew what you
In
wanted.
that regard, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. That was the only form of music I really thought was worthy for me to be working at on that frontier.
Yeah.
Something, worthwhile. Wasn't quite sure how to go about doing that at the time. But anyway, as far as influences go, yeah, all the greats, like the Doors were huge at that time. The Dead, the Grateful Dead, of course.
Sure.
The 13th Floor Elevators are huge,
Yeah.
The Iron Butterfly you mentioned,
Right.
stuff like that. Shiva's headband stuff, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I say Iron Butterfly, just that funny Simpson thing. It cracks me up every single time.
Sure.
By Iron Butterfly. Anyway, and then what about you, Josiah? Who were you listening to in your early days, and what?
So it kind of varies. So like him and I kind of bonded over that sort of psychedelic thing. Like he turned me on to some stuff, and we liked some mutual things there. So it was funny. He was really into like that 70s hard rock when we joined, and then we were still on that like 60s psychedelic kick. So that's pretty influential on me. But I kind of like a lot of stuff. Like I love jazz. Jazz is like beautiful to me. I love listening. I would never make jazz because I'm not that good, but I love listening to jazz. It's very influential on me in like songwriting and arrangement wise. And I also like, like thrash metal. I love Metallica. I love 90s alternative grunge, like super heavy stuff. He likes Smashing Pumpkins, so we bonded on that too.
All that stuff. We love a lot of music, all of us.
Yeah. So it was really kind of just like we could sit in a room for 4 or 5 hours and just talk about like 70 years worth of music that we all like genuinely like.
Yeah.
Or we'd have debates if one of us didn't like a band. like me and Pickett love the Who.
Yeah, the Who is the worst band
And,
of all time.
and Matt hates the Who.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just can't do it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, all the time.
So
yeah.
It's a tension that keeps things alive.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly,
so
yeah.
I feel like our influences are like bands that we love, but also like Matt hates the Who. So I'm like, okay, I'm never gonna write a song like the Who because it just doesn't
Too
work.
late.
Sorry, Pete Townsend.
No offense.
At least we all agree on the Beatles. That's
Yeah.
cool.
And there's
We agree on all the
all the
all
greats.
the
The important-
staples.
Yeah.
Right. That's cool. At what point did you guys was there a moment when you guys were playing together where you felt like, hey, I mean, we've got something special here? Is that, was there a moment, or was it just kind of like I've been in bands where sometimes like you play, and after maybe a couple of rehearsals, like all of a sudden everything clicks. You're like, whoa, we got a cool sound. And then I've been in other bands where like it just kind of evolved over time. And like at some point we're like, we can actually play this stuff.
Yeah.
So how was it for you guys?
I think we're still waiting for that moment.
I don't know. You guys sound good, man. You guys sound the stuff you put out is really cool. By the way, and I wanted to ask you, like your production, like it's interesting today, that psychedelic stuff, there's a reason why they had that sound, that really kind of dull, grungy, cool, like dirty sound.
Mhm.
And getting that today is kind of a trick.
Yeah.
And making it sound authentic.
Yeah.
How do you guys do that? Maybe both in the studio, which might be simpler, or live. How do you guys pull that off?
Oh, it's easy. Gear.
Primarily the gear.
Gear.
Get
Gear
vintage
for
gear.
sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We are love
Oh,
vintage
yeah.
gear.
Yeah.
So that's like number one. It always starts with the instrument. So we're big gear heads and we love the vintage stuff. Or if it's like vintage emulations of old stuff.
Yeah.
Like newer,
Yeah.
updated reissue stuff. As long as it like has what that old thing had and like can like recreate that, that's important to us. So yeah, usually it's just gear, and then like when we get in the studio, it's just we put mics in front of that old gear. It's gonna sound like old gear, That's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, but obviously, I mean, you guys are going through, Pro Tools or some digital interface, and trying to make that like you're not going. I don't know. Maybe you guys are going to tape.
Oh well, I mean, like it would be awesome to go to tape, but for the most part, we like with the first record we didn't go to tape. We went through Pro Tools, and it was pretty. We tried to make everything pretty transparent so that we could hear the vintage gear. Like you'd be in the studio, you put a mic in front of something, the mic isn't coloring the sound of that, that particular instrument. It's just you're hearing exactly what's coming out of the speaker or what's coming off the head of the drum.
Very honest recordings
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Who's the engineer in the group?
So I'm the engineer,
Okay.
but it depends, So like the first record, I recorded the first record. So I put the mics up and like we went to the studio I work at and did everything there. And then we sent it off to mix. Because for me, I like to remove myself a certain bit from the process so it stays, it upholds itself. And then this time around, we actually, for this next record, I didn't play a part at all engineering-wise. We actually had a guy, goes by the name Josh Medina. He recorded.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Josh.
thank you, Josh.
John Medina.
And and he recorded us because what we were going for this time around was even more of that sort of feel. We wanted to capture like basically a little foundation of every song where we track together live in the same room. Where we have the bass player, the guitar player, and the drummer playing together one take at the same time to try to capture that feeling, and then doing overdubs on top. So obviously, being someone in the band, I couldn't do both, the engineer hat and the band member hat. So we ended up doing that this time around, and that also lends a big part to the sound as well.
Do you guys play live a lot?
Yeah, we try to play as often as we can.
And is that? I mean, obviously, that nothing helps in the studio more than playing live. I think.
Yeah. I mean,
which was funny because we went into the studio during the pandemic, so there were no live gigs, so we're just kind of jamming in the basement, and so at times it made it kind of tough to open up, because we hadn't been like
getting that energy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it was still good, and like it just felt like work, like honest work, which was nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, stepping back to your previous question, about there being maybe some kind of special moment. For me personally, this was probably the first group that I was ever part of that I could actually be, in some ways, a fan of the music. I like what we're doing a lot.
Oh, that's
Before, that would come and go in moments, but it was never like a consistent thing,
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to throw that in there.
I think that's huge. That's probably what gives you guys the energy that you do. It's the fact that you clearly are fans of that, not just that style, but the music that you're actually producing.
Yeah, we love.
Yeah,
we love it.
Yeah.
It's a pride. It's our pride.
Yeah. And I think part of that is we try to, like, every decision we make, we try to make it unanimous. It has to be together. Like, if there's one guy out, we're not doing it. Because the thing is, like, down the line, that guy's going to hate that song later, or not want to play it live. So we want to make the music that we want to listen to. So at every turn, it's like, as long as everyone's on board, then we know we're doing something right. So I think I agree. We've never kind of reached that moment where it's like, yo, we've got something great here.
Right. It's never been that,
But it's always like, okay, well, we're all in agreement here. So that's a good starting point, and then we'll see where it goes. And usually it's just kind of like, depending on how people react to the music, that like really gives us that, okay, cool. We like, it's usually a song by song basis. Like we'll play a song live and people really like it. It's like, oh, cool, we got someone there with that song. That's cool.
Yeah.
Or if people don't respond to the song, it's like, okay, well, we got to keep working on that one or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a big part of it is like from our perspective, a lot of the songs are, especially going from the second to first record, they're like extremely diverse.
Yeah.
We're trying to cover a lot of ground.
No, I can
It's just
hear
where
that.
we're at. Yeah.
In fact, Matt, I was going to ask you, you know, the difference. In fact, let's go there. You guys have got one album that's out right now,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one coming.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're talking to Ultraviolet Communication. I was going to ask you where the name came from. I remembered what the question was.
Okay, we had soiled over what we were going to call the band. Soiled and toiled.
and and otherwise
and whatnot. Yeah. And I think, let's see, I was like, because a teacher of mine back in high school had said like Ultraviolet Catastrophe would be a really cool name for a band. I'm like, that's sweet.
Right.
But I look it up, taken. I'm like,
Oh,
and I think Josiah came in one day. He's like, Continuing Communications. And I'm like,
Something like that.
that's
Yeah.
almost cool. you know, and I'm just like, mix them together, you know, and that's just where it came from, man. And then we told one of our friends, and he was just like, oh, UVC. We were like, all right, cool.
there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out. The acronym, you know, it felt good. And we had kind of come up with a couple different ones, and I think we had always said like, okay, that's the band name for the week.
Yeah,
And then we'll meet up
yeah.
again in a week, and we'll see how we feel about
Right.
that. And
Yeah.
we'd get to practice, and it'd be like, that one sucked. That's not the name.
That's
that
not
one
it.
sucks. It's
Feel
not the
good.
name. Doesn't feel good. But
It
that
was,
one,
it was better than Arizona Speed Pass.
That's still one of my
That's a
favorite
little
ones
too
to
on the
date.
nose.
but yeah, and then I think with Ultraviolet Communication, it kind of just ended up being like the week later went by, we didn't say anything about it, and the week after that, it was like, still
It's like,
sounds
yeah, it's
good.
fine.
You
It
know?
works for me.
Yeah.
Just never got questioned.
Yeah, we were just tired of it. We were like, get
And
this
then
over with.
we got billed as UVC or something, and then it was just like, well, I guess that's the
Can't go
name.
back now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, once it's out there. Tell me about you guys as fans. Like, I mean, are they like when they hear some of your new stuff? Are they seem as excited? I guess you guys have been in the pandemic, so it's probably been hard to judge that a little bit.
It's been, well, we've been playing since about April. We played our first show this year around April when things really started lifting up. And,
Yeah.
And then like lately we've been playing more often. So it's been nice to play this newer material for people. And some of it we've been playing since the last record. So people have always kind of liked those songs. And now when we play it live, it's usually getting a really nice reaction. Like people definitely know that we have a diverse catalog. So every song's different from the last one. So they love that aspect, and people will ask us like, okay, is like they'll buy our vinyl for the first record, and they're like, hey, is all the stuff you played tonight like on this? And we'll be like, no, usually it's like 75% new stuff, 25% old stuff.
Yeah.
But it's good that the people like want it to be on there. You
Right,
know, that's a
yeah.
good sign.
No,
to
that's a
me.
great sign.
Yeah.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
actually.
So
Yeah.
people like really want it to be on the first record, but obviously it's not yet. But
Yeah.
they'll listen to it. They'll hear
It's
it.
coming.
It's coming.
So so just to go through, because I'm not as familiar with your guys' material,
Yeah.
other than what I've heard in the last week or so, which is, like I said, really cool. I'm curious, like, what are some of your guys' favorites from your first album that you enjoy either playing or, you know, just what do you guys like? Lee, I'll start with you.
Oh, I think I enjoy Taking On is particularly fun to play for me. I always enjoy that one, and we play that one in the sets these days still.
Do you guys try to make a conscious effort to, when you record, to record stuff that you can do live?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a big part of your sound. What you're
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to do.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like improv on the spot.
Certainly
kind
on
of
the
stuff
first
sometimes.
Well,
record.
not necessarily. What I mean, like, you know, the Beatles in their later days, you know, they didn't care about.
Oh, yeah, they were
performing.
just-
They were
oh,
just trying to
yeah,
make
yeah,
up
yeah.
sounds and what sounded cool.
Yeah.
You know, and there's something to be said for that, like that
Yeah.
artistic idea.
For sure.
Like you can't recreate the studio environment.
Yeah.
So whatever, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know, do you try to get the feel like it's live and
Definitely
and
the first record,
recreating it?
Yeah.
Definitely
First
the
record
Yeah,
for sure,
the first
yeah.
record is like note for note, like every note that we played on the first record. If we're playing it live, or at least when we were playing that record a lot more live, like that was like the same. They were
It was just
virtually
like a good
that's true.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking On a
Uh,
set, you know.
So and with this next record, we did that too, but probably a little less. There's a couple of songs where we did some overdubs that can't be recreated live, but the songs themselves were written in a 3-piece fashion. So we
Right.
can play them live, and we do like to play them live.
Yeah.
But the record just has a little bit of special extra stuff for people that are listening to it, which
Well,
we think works out well.
Of course.
A little bit of candy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
a little
right,
ear candy.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
A reason to get the vinyl, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
That's cool. So tell me the name of the song again, Lee. That you're
I enjoy Taking On
taking
a
on.
lot.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, you know, there are lots of good ones on there. It's hard to think of them at the moment.
Yeah, that's all right. What about you, Josiah?
So I love Taking On as well. It's a good one. Lately, we've been playing that one live, and at the end, we've actually been just jamming the end section. So we'll kind of do a little improvised piece at the end,
Fun.
which is super fun. The audience seems to really like that sort of thing because it builds the intensity, and it also allows us to loosen up on stage. Because over the pandemic, we did a lot of jamming. Like, it was just a lot of like, we'd sit down in the basement and like just kind of play whatever.
Yeah.
Which at times was like, man, we're jamming again. Like, this is tough. Or like,
It does get to be. People don't realize it. I can get to be work after a while.
Yeah.
yeah, and it was work, and so like, but we always wanted to be like, it's always beneficial for us to be tighter, you know.
Yeah.
It's usually like, okay, we know where we're going with stuff. So now when we are able to loosen up live and do that, it's nice because then there's a certain level of spontaneity in the set
And risk.
and risk.
No
Risk.
doubt.
too. I love that element
Yeah.
of risk, you know. It's
But
great.
also, it's like, it's still a safe. Like, we know
Of
the
course, yeah.
songs well enough, so we know what we're going to be doing, and we have been playing together long enough now to where we can kind of tell where something's going.
Sure.
So even when sometimes things seem a little rocky, it's like usually comes back where it needs to go at the end.
Yeah.
So that one's a great song. Inquire Within is a great song. I
Oh,
love
yeah,
that song.
That's a classic.
Yeah. we don't play that one as much live anymore because it is tougher. Like, even though we did that one a lot, like the way we played it live, there are a couple overdubs on the record that kind of make the song almost a little bit better. It's
Yeah.
tough, and Matt would agree with me on that. It's tough
Absolutely.
to play that one live.
Absolutely. There's
yeah.
no other way to play the song.
So that one is a great song. It's tough. We have an instrumental on the first one, Road Spice. That's a great song.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We've recently
Still
been playing that one live a
litter
couple
that in there.
times. We'll throw that one in. Yeah.
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 Walls of Ice. That's a big song.
Staple.
A lot of people love that song.
Yeah. That's one I heard. I kind of pinpointed that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great song. It's always a high energy tune, so people
Yeah.
really, really get into that one. And then the closer, which doesn't get as much love, but it's probably my favorite song on the first record. It's called Screens, and I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's me.
Right on. So you basically named the whole album, I think.
Almost. yeah. I love the first
Like a
record.
quarter of it at least.
Right. What you
Well, since, obviously touching on what Josiah said, a lot of them are like harder to play after, these newer songs we're playing, they were really, really 3-piecey, and we can really get a really thick sound out of them. But the old ones sound kind of thin to me when we go back to them. But so now playing them live, like the only ones I enjoy playing is like Taking On. Not all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it changes, but and Fever Dream, I think those are like the only ones I can really
Fever
do.
Dream.
That's a
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
one.
That's another
That
good
one's
Okay.
fun.
Yeah.
And as a is there one that you prefer, like playing the bass versus singing? What's that done? I'm a keyboardist and I sing.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah, yeah.
like I get that.
Yeah.
I don't get this.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not Geddy Lee.
No, and then Fever Dream for sure, because it's like one of the more fun songs to sing for me, because it's
Yeah.
just and yeah, the bass part's easy, so I can have a lot of fun with it.
That is fun. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And then you guys just had a new single that just came out.
Yeah.
Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Yeah, that's titled Moon Man. And
Which
that
is a
came-
great. So by the way, I think I've listened to that 3 or 4 times. That is a great tune.
Thank
And
you.
your guys'
Thank you.
video is awesome
Thank
too.
you.
That's
Thank you.
fun.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah, so Moon Man is the most recent release off the first record, and that one's super fun. We love playing that one live. It's kind of like Fever Dream. It
Yeah.
reminds me of Fever Dream a lot.
Like a
It's
poppy
very
tune.
Yeah.
like upbeat, sort of poppy tune. Matt wrote both of those tunes, so you can tell
Right
that that's
on.
Both from the
his-
same place.
that's his cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's a fun song. The video is a lot of fun to make. Yeah, it's just a fun song.
Well, where'd you guys do the video at?
A couple different locations. So there's a website called PeerSpace. Shout out to peerspace.com. It's like Airbnb, but for creative spaces. Basically,
Okay.
you go on and people will have like sets in their house, or like they'll own a little studio space that you can rent for a couple hours. So we went and rented like a mid-century modern house like out in Phoenix for a couple hours and shot some stuff there. And then we found a place with like a big white infinity wall, which is just like a big white background, and did some stuff there. And then that's pretty much it. Just like split between those two places. And we wanted to use the setting as much as possible because it was like we're not actors. We don't want to try to be actors, you know.
Right.
So we figured like might as well make a cool looking video with a cool setting, you know. So if you make the setting cool, the video is gonna be cool.
No
Worked
doubt.
out pretty well.
Okay, cool. And what, like this new album, what was the focus? Well, let me ask you this before that. Like being a musician today is way different than when I started. Like it's so much different. Like, you know, I barely get the whole Spotify thing. I barely, you know, the whole marketing thing is way different. Talk about being a musician today and, you know, 2020, 2021. What's that like?
It's difficult at times. Like there's challenges and there's also like great opportunity. It's a kind of a double-edged sword. So obviously there's more opportunity now than ever, but there's also more competition now than ever. And I think these guys would agree. It's tougher and when there are just so many bands trying to play a local circuit and we don't sound like any of them, you know, like
who are they going to pair you up with?
Exactly. Who are they going to pair us up with? Like who's going to want to come to our show if we don't sound like 20 other bands that come from here? But it's kind of just all about navigating that and finding your audience, you know, which can be tough, but really rewarding when you actually do find the people that like your music and will come to your show and buy your record and stuff.
And Lee, is the most important thing? I mean, this has always been the most important thing, I think, but I think it was easy to lose sight of it. And that's building a local audience, building the fan base that, you know, is kind of like your super fans, you know, and then growing off that, is that?
Oh, that's huge to me. I was incredibly bummed out, you know, over the pandemic, you know, not being able to do the live set. But now that's back, man, I'm feeling great. We're feeling great. It's extremely important to me.
Yeah.
That's almost everything to me is just, you know, playing in a room and making some kind of connection and, you know, getting outside of yourself and all that sort of good stuff, you know?
It is. And, you know, they become your, you know, apostles going out and spreading the word of ultraviolet communication.
Hopefully
you know?
so.
Yeah.
What about for you, Matt? Like as far as, you know, marketing or what are the things that you kind of think are important for a musician today?
Yeah. A friend of ours recently came over, and I think the first time we ever talked to him, he just like started going on a tangent about, you know, being a musician today. And he was saying a huge part of it is visual. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's very much like what people are looking at on their phone. You know, like what does this band look like? You know, if they have really like unprofessional pictures or something, and they want to be taken seriously, then like, are you going to take them seriously? You know?
Right.
Do they look cool? Do they have cool gear? Are they playing? You know, can you tell their vibe just by seeing, you know, what they're doing? And I think it's pretty cool. It can be tough if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I didn't think about it from that as like if you see, you know, you guys came over to the studio and the second I saw you, I knew, okay, obviously I'd heard your music before, but like what I heard and what I saw, you know, it worked together, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, it's like branding, I guess.
Yeah, big time.
Exactly.
And like that's a big part of it, but also being genuine, you know, while doing that, like having to navigate being genuine, but also being appealing to people, you know, one with the music first and foremost, and then also visually, you know, because a lot of people are, you know, especially young people like us, can be very visual people. So, like you said, seeing us and then hearing our music, it can be very easy to connect those things as being genuine.
Yeah.
Which is important to us. We always want
that's
to come
what we
off
hope
as, like,
for. Yeah.
being like we're not trying to do something we're not. You know, we're not trying to be someone else or do something that just appeals to people. We're just going to be us, and hopefully people respond to that. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you you know, it's interesting for a long time, and I think it's kind of going away from this now. Even it's kind of coming back, but you know, there was a decade or two where albums almost didn't matter. Like it was all about the single.
Yeah.
It was all about maybe an EP.
Yeah.
You know, but that it was all about, getting plays and views on
Yeah.
YouTube or plays
Yeah.
on Spotify. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's still very, very important
Yeah.
to you guys.
Yeah.
But, how do you feel about, creating an album? How important is that to you guys as a band? And what's your philosophy on that?
It's the most important thing.
It's everything.
That's the most
It's
important
everything.
thing. That's
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
Really?
man.
So a cohesive album.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
we
100%.
we
Yeah.
went into it and Josiah's like, no EPs. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, because like
Mhm.
it's really easy. I think kind of going back to like marketing too, this kind of connects. Like I don't want to create fast fans. I don't want to create fast fans that just come for us for a single and then leave. I want to create those long lasting relationships with fans, that people that love the deep cuts. They listen to a whole record. They invest themselves from beginning to end. They come to our show. They buy our merchandise. And I feel like the best way to do that is to provide them with like the most solid set of songs you can at once and say,
Yeah.
this is what we've been working on for a year and a half.
I love that. I remember as a kid, sitting in my bedroom with, the big speakers on the floor, my feet against the speakers, looking at the album cover or the CD cover and just going through album after album, spending hours doing that.
Yeah.
And I think, I hope I hope kids still do that, because
Yeah.
you get so much out of that.
Absolutely.
But I don't know, maybe I feel like we're still in a popcorn world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think the three of us have all had those moments, we
Yeah.
could share with.
heck
Get some Deep Purple out and just like
Right.
chill.
We were just discussing this.
yeah, we were just talking about Deep Purple. Matt does not like Deep Purple.
Another one of those bands just can't do it.
Can't do it?
I don't know why, man.
Ian Pace, man.
Machine Head is great.
I'm a singer, man.
Yeah.
That guy can sing.
Oh,
Anyway, those guys, I guess.
oh, man.
Anyway, but so I think that it's important.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's important to do that. And I feel like, a lot of people will, or a lot of peers, I guess, that we know kind of appealed to that sort of single thing, that EP thing. Because they're like, oh, it's quick. I can get that out there and like just have that one thing that gets me to go viral or like gets people to do like hundreds of thousands of streams or whatever. And like, that's a cool business model. That's fine. I get that works for some people. For us, though, that just doesn't feel like the right fit for our music. And then on top of that, it just like feels like we're not creating to create, we're creating to sell something.
Yeah.
And like, not that people that do that. It's just like, that's how we feel about it.
The bare minimum.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Right.
The bare minimum.
Yeah.
We want to go all out, and like we want people to eventually be doing that, like grab our record and like be scanning every inch of it for the small details.
Get some
and
Yeah.
flavor out
listening
of there,
to it backwards and forwards, like trying to
Looking
find
for the Easter eggs.
the Easter eggs,
looking-
Yeah,
exactly, the
exactly.
little things
The
like
goodies.
that. And so
Really
we-
listen.
just
you know?
creating
Yeah.
stuff that like allows people to think a little bit more and like kind of like put a little bit more effort into it.
Well, and it
hopefully.
becomes art. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing I love about it is when you're creating a whole album, it may not be like a concept album or
Yeah.
something like that, but we have to think about like what's going to be the first one, what's going to be the last one. How do you fit all these songs together in something that's a cohesive order,
Yeah.
so that I may not get a story, but I'm going to have a really valuable and insightful listening experience for an hour and a half or something.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
Two sides of cohesive music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well presented.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And do you guys do vinyl? You guys.
Yeah.
We
And so do you think of that? Like when you're putting together this album,
Yeah.
are you thinking, okay,
Mhm.
what's going to be the
The
first on the
B-side,
B-side?
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
big time. Yeah, we think about it in terms of that because it's like, even if someone's not buying it on a vinyl record, you still want the actual album to have an ebb and flow like those records do, where
Yeah.
the halfway point, it's like starting another record
Mm,
almost. Like
right.
it's like just an accompanying piece, and like you go through the first half and you're like, oh, this is great, and then it picks back up and starts again. It's like a big roller coaster, almost a journey, and
Right.
that's important. Regardless of whether we're printing the vinyl or not, it should feel like that.
Okay, so and again, how I love this kind of conversation as musicians, because I love the collaboration, because there's a difference between like putting together a studio album and trying to come up with a list versus like coming up with a live set,
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
which is another whole different animal.
Yeah.
And cool
Yeah.
and fun to do.
Heck yeah.
How do you guys approach a live set typically?
It's evolving.
It's
Evolving.
yeah.
It's evolving.
Well, do you guys try to come up with like 2 or 3 sets that maybe you rotate, or do you like try to do something different every time?
Different every
the
time.
show's different every time.
Different
Okay,
every
yeah.
time, yeah.
For sure.
Now we always have like it is different every time, but we do have songs that like work well in certain slots. You know, like
Like,
we
he's
kind of
gotta be
discussed
here.
this
Yeah.
recently.
Different suites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we discussed this pretty recently. Like there are a few songs like we couldn't just open with any song. You know?
Right.
Like we want to make sure that every time we open a set, we're grasping the attention of the room. You know, because it's like maybe people aren't there to see us, but we want them to be. So we want to make sure the first song is like a head turner or something that'll get people's attention.
Sure.
You know, and then the same thing with the closer. We want to make it, you know, and every time we close a set, we want it to feel as if it's like, wow, if I was a band playing after them, that would be tough to follow, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's how every band should be doing it,
Absolutely.
you know? Like, and it's not like we want to be better than the other band, but we want it to be like, wow,
Oh,
how are you going to top
no,
that?
I
Some
hear ya.
healthy competition,
Yeah.
man.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Makes
Well, I-
better music.
And there's like I remember, you know, again, this is gonna age me, but I remember going to Rush's Roll the Bone concert, and Primus
Nice.
opened for him.
Cool.
You
yeah.
know, which
Yeah.
was, I mean, and it was the first time I heard Primus. I was like, holy cow, man,
Yeah.
that Les Claypool, holy,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable to hear these guys play like music I'd never heard of. It couldn't even, like, I could barely understand the sound. It was so different and cool, you know. And then you know, Rush comes out and does Rush, which is amazing as always.
Yeah.
But it was you could tell like those guys were trying to put together something that was special for the audience and not just like an opener, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
100%.
No question about
yeah.
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And like same thing, no matter where we're at in the set, we want it to feel like, wow, these guys really gave us a show. Like even if they're not there to see us, if someone's there to see the closer and we're playing first, you know,
Yeah.
it's like I want people to get their money's worth, you know, and like see us and like, wow, I got to see this band and that other band that I wanted to see,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, I think that's just good. That's just good business right there. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you get there late, you want people to be like, "Did you see that, man?"
No, I mean that's like the best compliment, right?
Yeah.
When if you hear chatter like that,
Yeah.
that's huge.
you guys the opener, the touring band?
Did I,
Oh,
did I
sorry,
miss,
man.
did I miss the band I was looking for?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think one of the best compliments, it's like barely a compliment, but people will be like, oh, so where are you guys from? And we're playing a local gig.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, oh, okay. They don't see us as a local band, you know.
You know, I want to
based on
talk about
caliber.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
The Phoenix scene is such an interesting, strange place for me.
Mhm.
You know, because
Well said.
no, it's weird. Like because there, you know what? It's kind of like ASU football. There's like so much potential. Like there's so much available. Like all the cultural stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
It's the fifth largest city.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much cool. It's kind of transient. So you have all these people coming from California, from New York, from Texas, you know, all over.
Ohio.
Yeah, see, can't forget.
Yeah.
Ohio.
Nobody's from here. And very
Yeah, well,
seldom.
but so, and you know, you come together, and yet, like, I always thought, like, there's definitely going to be like a Seattle scene in Phoenix. There's definitely going to be something that comes out that's going to be huge and like earth shattering, and it just hasn't happened, and it kind of is weird.
Yeah.
It is.
very
It's
strange.
weird, man.
It's spread out, man. It's
I
just-
have a
it's spread out.
hypothesis about that, and I think it's purely based not on like the sort of bands that are here or the talent, because there's, you know, you can go anywhere and you can find a cool band, you know, like
Yeah,
if you look hard enough, you'll find a cool
there's
band.
plenty of
There's
talent.
plenty of talent here.
Yeah.
That's never the problem. It's like just like lack of resources a lot of times, you know, like I feel like Arizona just isn't very oriented toward the arts at times. You know, even though it loves art, you know, like it has, you know, First Friday events and things like that uplift art. There isn't really a whole lot of industry out here. So there's not like, we've never run into someone that's like, oh, I'm a music manager, like I manage
Right.
bands.
Hmm.
Or we've never run into someone
True.
that's like, we're a record label and like we make records, or like we
Even at the
you know-
shows you guys do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 And so like it's very rare that we ever come into contact with people like that. And I feel like it's the lack of industry that creates a void of like
But-
bands.
You
that
don't even
get
meet
the
the
show.
promoters
Yeah,
sometimes.
exactly. Lack of promoters. too.
And that's true, but I mean, as you guys mentioned, like it's still like it's kind of a new world where you have to be your own promoter.
Yeah.
And so
You
it's still it still kind of bothers me. Like I don't know if there's something that's keeping the scene down, or
Yeah.
you know, I'm friends with Tommy Gibbons, who's kind of in the heavy metal scene, you know, out here, and
Yeah.
really good player.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, I've done some shows with him, and you know, he's a great guy, and but he's always looking to get out of town, to tour and because that's where
So
you
are
get
we, man.
seen
Yeah.
at.
That's
No,
what we're
it's-
doing. It's the scene somewhere else.
We're
Yeah,
excited.
like and so lately we've been
which breaks my heart a bit. I gotta
Yeah.
It
tell you.
does. It sucks.
and like it's obviously as much as we'd love to stay here and just like thrive,
Yeah, make
you
a
know,
living.
it's tough, you know, because then there's so many roadblocks and like it's almost like pulling teeth trying to get better shows and better venues and to play with cooler bands. So it's like
Are there good venues out there? They're just hard to get in. Is that
well, kind of. It just depends. Like obviously there are venues that it's like not hard to get in, but you have to have a certain draw. You know, you
Yeah.
have to have a certain fan base, like number of people that are going to guarantee to come to your show before
Right.
you can get there, which is a
Everybody's gotta make
completely
money for sure.
understandable
Yeah.
business model. Like obviously, you know, tomorrow we're not going to go play the Van Buren and sell it
Yeah.
out, you know, but that would be cool. But we can't really do that, you know. It's hard to do that when a lot of our business model is word of mouth. Like we want people to come see us at a show, like us, follow us, and then keep coming to our shows.
yeah.
But when we can't get shows, it's tough to do that. So we want to create, like I said, real fans, and we have to go out and find them. And that if we can't find them here, we're not going to waste time twiddling our thumbs waiting for them to come to us. We're just going to go out to other places to find them, you know, and like hopefully reach people other places, you know, whether it be like Flagstaff still in state or if it's like out of state in California, you know,
Yeah.
wherever we can go to find those people, we'll go.
During the pandemic, a lot of bands, people had different strategies about how to handle, what was going on. Some people kind of just went in the studio, kind of went in a hole and try to, find not a new sound, but try to refine their sound and create new studio stuff.
Yeah.
Other people try to do kind of the live, internet,
Yeah, the
YouTube,
Twitch
stuff,
YouTube
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. What was your guys' thoughts and how did you guys handle that terrible?
We hid under a rock in our basement.
we kind of did that, man.
Yeah, like-
Yeah,
we
we
did
were
one or
writing.
two.
Yeah,
of
we were
those.
focused on writing music. That was like
Yeah.
our main
And,
focus.
and was that the plan anyway? Was that kind of what you guys?
Well,
had to
we
do?
kind of wanted to kill two birds with one stone and keep writing music and keep playing live
Sure.
shows, So that was the goal. We were really
Yeah.
excited going into 2020.
We were playing
you
a
know,
lot of shows.
We had a good momentum going into 2020. We were planning on playing a ton more shows.
Wanted to promote our record that we released in
Yeah.
January of 20.
Oh yeah, that's
We were gonna get out and
Bummers.
play.
Bummer.
Yeah, and
No
so
doubt.
yeah,
Oh.
so we put the record out and it was like we played a few shows, like a handful, and then it was like, well, can't play any more shows. So it was tough, and you can't really put a bunch of money and promotion behind something that like you can't back up when you play
Right.
live. So we didn't really get the opportunity to do that. So we just said, hey, back to the drawing board, write some more songs, so we have a bunch more stuff. And by the end of it was great because our first show back was out in Lake Havasu, and we got to play like an hour and a 45-minute set, 2 hour
almost
set
2 hour
of like
set.
mostly original music,
yeah.
Double header.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
which is great.
It
We
was
played
tight.
2 nights of like 2 hours of music that was mostly original, and that was great because now we're in a position where if a club calls us up and they're like, "How long's your set?" We can say, "Dude, we can play anywhere from 30 minutes to and like 2 hours,
Yeah.
of original music," and that's a great position to be in.
For sure.
So writing was the main thing that we did during the pandemic. That and then just kind of like
Just practicing.
Getting
playing,
tighter.
just getting
All the
tighter.
time.
getting
yeah.
tighter
Yeah.
musically and
Every day,
and,
yeah.
personally as
Yeah.
well.
No, that's.
Hey.
By the way, talk about that for a second. I don't think a lot of people realize the importance of having that, connection, not just musically, but as people. You guys seem to be, friends. You
Yeah.
seem to like to hang out together.
Mhm.
How important is that for your, sound, to be blunt?
Well,
If we
on
hated
the,
each other,
on
we
the
wouldn't be
record,
doing
we don't like each other at all.
It's
This is all a
extremely
I
facade.
can tell. I actually got them in separate rooms.
Yeah, that's
Very
right.
fragile.
I was trying to go, try to hide the truth.
That's right.
we
Lee's on the
better not
throne
lock
in
eyes
the
with me.
bathroom.
That's
That's where he belongs. No, yeah, I think it kind of just came with hanging out. Like I said earlier, like, but when me and Lee were jamming, we'd also like hang out and like listen to records or like just do stuff and talk about music. So like bonding in that way is super important because then when the amp turns off and the drumsticks are set down, it's not like, all right, see you later,
Yeah.
It's like we're constantly thinking about music related stuff.
Plotting and
or-
scheming.
Yeah.
Musing about the universe or something.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
where the best stuff comes.
A lot of
Exactly.
that.
Yeah, like a lot of times we'll just sit and have a conversation or, like about anything. it doesn't matter what it is, and just being able to do that is nice because that breeds creativity,
Yeah.
from any place. Like there are a few songs on the first record that are just like the stiffness of having to go to a 9 to 5 job and like working,
Right.
and
Yep.
that came from like just talking about, man, it sucks going to work, sucks being in the rat race, like that sucks. And then lo and behold, there's a few songs that's like talking about that, and like people can relate to that.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's super important, and I think just over time we've just been able to find stuff to connect on, and then it's
Mhm.
always stems back to music. Music is
Yeah,
everything. For us.
mutual love of music and
That-
same
powerful
views on
connection.
life for the most part.
Yeah.
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 It's interesting, because I've had several artists of all different genres on the show, from like classical music to rock to indie
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and one of the kind of themes that I've kind of felt is this idea of art. It's specifically music, performance art, but I think music is more specific to this, and how there's a relationship between like the songwriter versus the performer, which could or could not be the same person. Obviously you have a basic songwriter and then you guys, put it together, but there's a relationship there. Like what the band or what the performer does may not exactly be the same thing that the songwriter envisioned,
No.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, once you put it out there, like once the audience hears it, it becomes all of a sudden a relationship between, these three kind of beings. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it's almost like this energy that all of a sudden the song kind of takes a life of its
It's
own.
very true. Very
And
true.
and that's why I'm kind of going with your audience. Like, are there songs that maybe you thought you didn't realize that were gonna be, I don't know, popular seems so kind of a weird word for that, but that connect, that connect with your audience more than you thought would.
Walls of Ice, easily.
Maybe the diner too. People
Yeah.
really dig the diner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Walls of Ice is off the first record. That's a song that was like one of the first songs we wrote, and it didn't sound anything like it did on the record. And
Really long.
Yeah.
and so we wrote that song, and it was like it was just a fun, loud rock and roll song. We were just like, whatever, this
Almost a joke song.
yeah, almost a joke
That was
song.
like the first idea kind of thing.
Yeah.
we were just,
That's
And-
awesome.
messing
and
around.
then and then we started playing it live, and it just kind of became a ripper. People really like it. And then off our new record, we have a song called The Diner, and we played that live, and that one came together in a day. I sat
Matter
down.
of hours.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was pretty quick. I sat down with Matt, and I was like, hey, just for fun, I kind of want to write a song about this specific thing.
Mhm.
And we just kind of started riffing on vocals and lyrics and stuff. And then like I wrote it really simple, not anything too crazy. It was kind of just like almost an exercise. Like, hey, let's write a song just to write a song. And then it was like, oh, cool, this is kind of coming out pretty cool. And then we jammed it later that day, and then it was like, that's the song. And then we
pretty
just
groovy.
kept kind of
Yeah.
we just kind of kept playing it. And then when we play it live, it gets a really good reaction as well, because I think it's the same thing. It's just like kind of it translates from the beginning of the creation of the song to when
Mhm.
we perform it live. People can feel that like that started somewhere that was
Yeah.
really honest and
a
like
journey of a
really,
song.
really, really, really.
Oh, that's
know,
cool. What's the
raw.
name of that song again?
It's called The Diner.
The Diner. Okay.
And diner is spelled Diner. And the reason,
Look it up.
Yeah,
man.
you have to
Check
look
it
it
out.
up.
Yeah,
All
Mom.
right.
Yeah,
There's
Mom,
an
not
Easter
Diener.
egg for you guys to check.
Yeah. We can't reveal it here, but
Yeah.
check it out and blow your mind.
Yeah. And that is a cool song to play. We love playing it. It's super fun to play live. So it just all around turned out to be a good.
And it's
Probably
going
my
to be a
favorite.
single.
That's
too.
right.
And it's gonna be, when's that
Probably
single
my
coming
favorite
out?
one.
That comes out in November.
Okay.
Yeah, November.
Is that the next
Yeah.
single that's coming?
No, that is not. We have a new single coming out on October 22nd titled Palinopsia, which is it's a visual phenomena of it's kind of like a side effect at times when you can see two things at once, something like almost like double vision.
Yeah.
But it's just a fun word and it rolls off the tongue, so we use that as a name.
Just a side effect, that's all.
Yeah.
Nothing to think too much about.
No,
The
don't-
side
don't worry
effect-
about
is that
it.
the side effect kind of like a send effect? I'm not sure.
That's right.
You
Don't
lost
worry
me.
about
it.
But I'll look forward to the single.
Good.
I'm a musician, not an English guy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
How can, if people are interested in checking you guys out, what's the best way for them? Well, first of all, what's the best way for them to grab your first album that's already out?
Well, if they want to buy it on vinyl, come see us at a show.
Come to the show.
Okay.
Come to the
Come to the
show.
show.
In order to find out what we're playing, follow us on Instagram at UVC Band or Facebook under UVC Band, Twitter under UVC Band.
YouTube, Ultraviolet Communication.
And follow us on all those places, and you'll see where we're playing next. Come see us, and we'll sell you a vinyl.
Awesome. And I'll definitely put those in the show notes.
Sweet.
And then,
and then you can listen to us anywhere you stream music: Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, wherever you get your music. We're under Ultraviolet Communication.
All right. Cool. And then when's the next full album coming?
That is December 10th.
Wow.
That's the full record. Comes out December 10th. It's titled Paper Tiger.
Paper Tiger coming out December 10th.
That's right.
Ultraviolet Communication. That's pretty rad. That's super cool. Have anything special planned for the album release?
Yeah, we're doing an album release show December 19th at the Rebel Lounge in Phoenix. We'll be formally posted about that pretty soon. Some details, so check it out on our Instagram.
And stay tuned for more as well. We're going to try to round out some more dates right around that very same time.
Oh, yeah.
So
Cool.
different cities, different
Right
spots
on.
around town.
And then is there anything coming up that you want people to know about? Any live shows that other than the album release party?
We're playing a Halloween house show on October 30th. So come check us out.
All right.
The details, you'll have to DM us for the address. Because it's a party, we don't want any random person
who do you know
showing
here, bro?
up. Yeah. But if you want to check it out, come in costume and we'll play a set for you.
Okay. Fantastic. So yeah, check DM for the house party. Look for December 10th, the new album Paper Tiger. And then December 19th, if you're in Phoenix, we got to go to the album release party. That's going to be killer.
Rebel Lounge, man. It's going to be happening.
Rebel Lounge.
Go see
Where's that at? What's the cross streets for Rebel
It's
Lounge?
on Indian School.
23rd,
23rd, yeah.
24th?
That's where the Mason jar used to be.
Yeah,
It's
Mason
really-
jar.
Formerly the Mason.
Yeah, formerly the
Formerly
Mason jar.
And we're going to have a great lineup. There's a great bill for that evening.
yeah.
A
Oh,
lot of
good.
our friends.
Yeah, a lot of good friends there.
Blue Joy from Mesa.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
Love them.
Oh,
Pablo Love Train
Yep.
from Phoenix. They're fabulous. And our friends from Los Angeles, Moon Fuzz, they're going to be coming out and playing with us. It's going to be spectacular.
Man, that sounds like a killer show.
It's
gonna be
gonna
great.
killer.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, check that out. We'll get those dates in the show notes as well. Anything that I meant? Anything you guys want to leave my audience with, or did I forget something?
No, not
I
at
don't
all. I
think so,
just
man.
want
I
to say
think that's
thank
it.
you for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Keep
I-
your ears open.
Oh, I will for sure. And maybe if as we get closer or after the release party, I can have you back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Love to.
Yeah.
We should talk
We'd
about the
love
new
to
album
come
a little
back.
bit more.
Yeah.
For sure.
That'll be fun.
You go.
Well, Lee, Josiah, Matt,
Yes, sir.
Ultraviolet Communication, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
My pleasure. This is Mike Levitt, and you've been listening to And If Love Remains.